time for the Daily Planet podcast show. So sit back, relax, and give us a go. Scott and Matt and maybe a guest, undertaking an epic pod quest. We're gonna ramble on about movies and books and television and directors and film festivals and this really long list of stuff that I know nothing about, but they gave it to me and they really wanted me to read through it. And that's all I can really say about it, but it's gonna be great. Okay, start the show.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Planet Podcast, your weekly podcast for all things movies, TV, books, and anything else we feel like talking about. I am your host, Scott Daly, and this week we've gotten the whole band back together, and I'm joined by co-hosts Matt Freeman. Matt, how's it going?
Hey.
And Michael Grubb. Michael, welcome back.
Hey there.
We are here in the week after Thanksgiving, and we're all a little fatter and a little well-rested / more tired. I don't know. It depends on how stressful the holidays are for you. Did you guys have a good Thanksgiving?
Go ahead, Michael.
I did. I wasn't moving, so that was good.
yeah. That is
a good choice.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm living in a hotel, so Thanksgiving was at a restaurant.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, that was different. So,
but
which restaurant?
It's a little French restaurant called Mimi's near the hotel where I live. I don't even know if it's a chain or not. But it sounds very
1%.
check out Mimi's in Denver, Colorado, listeners.
Daily Planet Podcast, sponsored this week by Mimi's in Denver, Colorado.
I'll write a little jingle for that.
Yeah, I had a pretty good Thanksgiving. Me and my wife take turns, so I was with the in-laws this year, much to the chagrin of my parents. But you gotta compromise somewhere. But
yeah, that's how it goes. You gotta alternate.
Yeah. So we're doing Christmas at my house this year. But
good deal.
So this week we could not come up with a single thing to talk about. There were so many movies released over the break that we kind of just decided that because like the holidays are a time when I think you're off of work and you get a little extra time and you end up watching or listening or doing a lot of different stuff. So we thought that it would be a good idea for this show to have a what we've been watching Thanksgiving special edition, where we take the what we've been watching section at the end of our podcast and we make it the whole show. So we're going to be talking about all the different movies that we've seen, all the different TV shows that we've seen, all the different YouTube videos for some of these things that we've seen or done or experienced during the course of the break. And I think we're going to try to keep this spoiler free. So if you haven't seen any of these shows or movies or anything, these are just going to be like that high level review of it. We're going to talk about what we liked about it. And that is the plan. So I think it's going to be a good time.
All right.
Excellent.
But first, guys, we got to talk about some news.
Okay.
Because
stuff's still happening.
Stuff is still happening. Weirdly, though, this holiday break, not much happened outside of a continual list of men accused of sexual assault, sexual harassment, and rape, which continue to invade the industry, and it's both upsetting and reassuring as this wave seems to be continuing. We're not going to talk about every single one of those because it's just too much. It's just too much. It keeps happening. I keep being glad it's happening, and let's just move on.
All right.
So the first news item, Gambit. You know that Cajun X-Men character that everyone in the 90s loved because he was so 90s.
He was so cool.
Was he?
Wait,
was he?
Why did everyone like him so much? Is it because he threw the cards?
I think
because he threw cards.
I think it's because he threw cards and they exploded.
He was taciturn.
Yeah,
and he had cool. Like black eyes and yeah.
Cajun accents also.
Yeah,
they're kind of underrepresented in fiction.
Yeah.
It was also really unclear what his power was, which made him more interesting to watch for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn how to throw cards into wooden boards after this podcast is over.
Just like immediately after? Like get off the call and then just go?
I'm going to get on a YouTube tutorial, give it a couple minutes watch, and then I'm just going to go for it.
And just assume you will be an expert. All right.
I think I will be.
Well, the point, gentlemen, is that they're making a Gambit movie. This has been something that's been threatened for a long time. I think Channing Tatum's been attached to star in this thing for literal years, and it's actually happening. The movie is slated to come out Valentine's Day 2019 because nothing says Valentine's Day like a Cajun mutant who throws cards. Channing Tatum's still starring. Lizzie Kaplan is signed on just last week to have a supporting role in here, unannounced, but probably as Belladonna, a recurring character in X-Men Gambit lore. I'm not a Gambit expert, so and interesting enough, Gore Verbinski is going to direct this film. So
why do I not know who Gore Verbinski is?
Do you really not know who Gore Verbinski is?
No, what else has he done?
He's done a whole lot of things. He did A Cure for Wellness last year. You probably most know him from the 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Oh, God.
Those were...
the first one.
His ones were good. So don't...
Well, one of them was good, though.
The other two hold up. The other two hold up.
The Ring, apparently.
Yeah, he did.
Mouse
He
Hunt?
did the first Ring. Yeah.
He did Mouse Hunt.
He also did Rango.
Rango is good.
Yeah, there you go. He's a very he has like he also did The Lone Ranger, which was not good.
Ooh.
He's I don't know.
That's the kind of thing that'll haunt you for the rest of your life.
But I mean, I am very interested in this movie now because it's happening. It starts. They actually are starting production early next year. It's actually happening. This isn't just something that we're talking about. It's actually happening. How do you feel about Channing Tatum as Gambit? Do you think he can do that?
No. Well, he doesn't seem like a Gambit to me. I mean, he's a good actor, and he has shown himself to have a fair amount of range, but he's not who comes to mind when you hear Gambit.
I am very interested to hear his Cajun accent.
Yeah, I've somehow missed all the movies where he was allegedly really good in, so I'm not sure that I can get behind it fully.
Well, the answer to that is all of them.
You should go see Lucky Logan,
yes,
which came out this year, and he had an accent in it.
Okay,
he did,
all
but
right.
it was not a Gambit accent. It was a Southern accent.
But it's the same thing.
You just stretch it out a little bit, yeah.
You stretch it out a little bit, and but I mean, this isn't going to come out until 2019, and by that time, everyone will be over superhero movies. So I don't see why they're bothering.
I think that's a pipe dream in Michael's head.
I don't know if you heard this, Scott, but ever since I started boycotting the superhero movies, everyone has been jumping on board.
Really?
It's been this massive movement.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Thor was such a failure. I can't even believe it.
Justice League was a huge failure because of it. And
I thought Justice League wasn't technically part of your boycott. I thought that was just...
No, it is. It is. Yeah, superheroes. Boycotting it all.
Thor was a massive success, so...
That was kind of a fluke, though.
Yeah, I'm sure. Speaking of superhero movies, our next news item, Incredibles 2, the Pixar film, is happening. We've known this for a while, but the first teaser came out last week, including a summary of the plot. Would you guys like to hear what the summary of the plot is?
Sure.
Everyone's favorite family of superheroes is back in Incredibles 2. I hate these marketing summaries. They're awful, but they're necessary. But this time, Helen, voice of Holly Hunter, is in the spotlight, leaving Bob, voice of Craig T. Nelson, at home with Violet, voice of Sarah Vowell, and Dash, voice of Huck Milner, to navigate the day-to-day heroics of normal life. It's a tough transition for everyone, made tougher by the fact that the family is still unaware of baby Jack-Jack's emerging superpowers. When a new villain hatches a brilliant and dangerous plot, the family and Frozone, voice of Samuel L. Jackson, must find a way to work together again, which is easier said than done, even when they're all incredible. So that's Incredibles. I
really liked the first Incredibles, but I don't believe in sequels for the sake of sequels.
Well, I mean,
Pixar's pretty good at it, but
yeah. So we'll I am like this feels very sequel-y, like we're bringing back Frozone because everyone liked Frozone.
Right.
I am interested. I think you're absolutely right that Incredibles is a very good movie. I want more Pixar original films. We're going to talk about Pixar's new original film that I actually quite enjoyed later in this podcast, but that's their last original production until we get to 2021, I think. So everything from now until
Yeah.
then is going to be sequels. So that's kind of disappointing. But
I don't like it.
But I this could be good. I don't know. I think Brad Bird's back to do this again. So I think.
I mean, one of the cool things about the original Incredibles was just kind of the idea of the kind of world, the superhero world that they live in, and it was kind of fun to be thrown into that. And as with all sequels, the idea is already ruined, so you have to completely carry it based on like a good new plot. And you have to, because you can't, you either have to introduce completely new characters or come up with like new conflicts for the old ones. And sometimes that feels really forced.
Yeah, I mean, my mind goes to Toy Story, because you could say the same thing about Toy Story, where it's like, oh yeah, once you get a movie where you have this concept of, oh, they're toys, but they're alive, you'd think that would be played out. But actually, the second and third ones are at least good movies. I don't know if either of them quite rises to the first movie in its totality, but like I think this new Incredibles movie is guaranteed to be a good movie. It's just not guaranteed to be a great movie.
I think that's a very fair assessment. Yeah.
I think it still falls under the umbrella of the superhero movies I'm boycotting though.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see if they write this movie because when the first Incredibles came out, superhero movies had not taken over the entire industry yet. So if this movie acknowledges that takeover in an interesting way, I think that would be fun to see, because it's obviously coming out in a completely different time than the first one did. It was one of the only superhero properties the year it came out, and now that will not be the case. So I hope they address that in some way, and I think it could be good. So Incredibles 2, I think that's coming out. Is it 2019? I think it's 2019. Actually, no. I need to look this up. I think it's next year, actually. I'm going to look it up right now. It is next year.
That'll be
June
Christmas
15th.
Christmas time.
No, June 15th
next
is summer movie. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so they're actually probably almost done with it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right.
I have to talk to my Pixar contact about this.
Yeah.
I think everyone knows who your Pixar contact is.
I'll also have to talk to my Pixar contact,
which are
this.
definitely not the same contact.
No, definitely not. We have a lot of contacts here at the Daily Planet.
We do. We got all over the place. Pixar,
but they're confidential because we have media ethics that we practice.
Yeah,
that's right. Not like those other outfits that you may be listening to.
All right, moving on to Blade Runner 2049. Every time I get both of you back on the podcast, I have to talk about Blade Runner 2049 again. Denis Villeneuve is sad that Blade Runner 2049 did not do very well at the box office.
Well, he should have made a better movie. That's all I can say.
Go ahead,
Scott. Read what he said. Read what he said, Scott.
It's very sad, and I wanted to read this out loud so Michael himself feels bad about this.
I won't feel bad about it. I hate all of his movies.
So Denis says,
stop making them.
I'm still digesting it. It had the best reviews of my life. I never had a movie welcomed like that. At the same time, the box office in the United States was a disappointment. That's the truth, because those movies are expensive. It will still make tons of money, but not enough. The thing I think is that it was maybe that people were not familiar enough with the universe, and the fact the movie's long. I don't know. It's still a mystery to me. And it breaks my heart. And Michael, you should feel ashamed that you hurt Denis. He worked really hard on this movie, and you personally hurt his feelings.
Yeah.
Sicario's overrated.
And he said it was the fault of people in the middle of the country like you, Michael.
Yeah.
He said that
specifically. Yeah.
But he also said that Dune is going to be really good. So.
I think he did say that. Yeah.
Is he doing Dune?
He is doing Dune.
He's going to do it properly though.
I don't understand.
I don't know how you can beat the 80s version.
I don't.
Well.
Easily
preaching to the choir here, but
I don't understand how you can not like him as a director. He is skilled and fascinating.
I don't know.
And
usually with directors, I can just say it's not for me. But for some reason, all of his movies, well, by all of them, I mean Sicario, Wind River, and Blade Runner, which are the ones I've seen.
Wind River is not his movie. Stop.
Wait, it's not?
No, that's the writer of Sicario. directed Wind River. That's not a Denis movie.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay. Anyway, he was responsible for it in some way, and I hold it against him. But I just don't understand. I don't understand them. I don't understand why people like them. They're just dour.
I like. That's some people like.
I feel like if I understand the appeal of these movies, I'll have gained some new insight about what it's like to be human, but I'm just not there yet.
I have literally been made speechless by this comment.
Well,
I don't.
I mean, that's very interesting because Scott and I think Scott, even to a greater degree than I, doesn't like anything by Ridley Scott, even though Ridley Scott is like a renowned director, and I think we can probably admit that he has quite a lot of skills. We just end up being frustrated by his movies a lot of the time, and very often it has to do with this exact thing where he's trying to say things about humanity and all these highfalutin things where, like, I usually think he comes off as being really sophomoric, but like in terms of when you actually analyze what the meaning of the themes are. I don't think Villeneuve is sophomoric at all, though. I think he's approaching things in a way that's very interesting and makes me actually think about it. So that's
absolutely.
I'm saying this as a way of saying, like, I too am someone who gets frustrated with a famous, well-liked director who attempts to talk about these things, i.e. Ridley Scott, but I don't feel the same about Villeneuve. So that's interesting.
My blind spot, I guess, is Villeneuve.
Interesting. Very interesting.
All right.
It's frustrating, Scott.
I don't want to get into a whole argument about this, so we will move on. Okay. So Dan Harmon, here's my not news of the week. Dan Harmon says he's talked to Justin Lin, who is a director that before moving on to direct Fast and Furious movies and other such action stuff, did an episode of Community. He did the very first paintball episode of Community for Dan Harmon, so they are close personal friends. But he talked about doing the Community movie. Again, this is not really news. They just literally just had a conversation that revolved around, hey, wouldn't it be fun if we could do that? Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Good talk. But, the reason why this is news, I guess, is because 6 seasons in a movie was always the Community mantra as it struggled for ratings throughout the entire lifetime of its run. And it made the 6 seasons, so the movie seems inevitable. Dan Harmon suddenly finds himself with a ton of money from his Rick and Morty success, so maybe if he can find someone willing enough to distribute it, maybe he'll bankroll part of this and make it happen. I have no idea. A lot of the actors in this are very busy and have blown up, so I don't know if that would ever actually happen. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah, Donald Glover's kind of a big deal now.
He's huge. He's huge. Donald Glover seems like a type of person that would come back.
Yeah, I think everyone had enough affection for the show who worked on it that they'd probably do it if it worked with their schedules. But I don't know. Like, what do you think the movie would be good? I feel like most like 30-minute kind of like cartoony comedy shows don't really work in a movie format because you can't really do as much throwaway stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. Probably not. The thing about Community is, like, yes, it lasted 6 seasons, but it was kind of like this slow death. I rewatched the entire series from beginning to end not too long ago, a few months ago, and it definitely hits its high point and then just kind of slowly over the course of years dies as characters leave and they're replaced with other characters that are great actors and do have great performances. It just, the essence of the show is kind of lost a little bit. And you can tell they were kind of running out of ideas. So maybe now that they've been a few years removed, they'll have a good enough idea to make it happen. But yeah, I mean, it probably won't be too great. I don't know.
Yeah, I watched the first 2 seasons of that show. And then I think I just felt like it was getting a little bit too random. It wasn't as grounded as it started out being. Yeah. I mean, definitely. And I think there's the paintball episode was such a huge hit. Like, everyone loved the paintball episode, and there's real pressure from probably the TV network as well as the fans to lean into that kind of thing, to that kind of ridiculous thing. And a lot of their stuff, like some of the best episodes, I think, come in season 3. But I don't know.
I don't even know if I
Justin
want
Lin-
to see it.
Yeah, I don't really want to see it. Justin Lin is a competent filmmaker, though.
Yeah. I have no doubt that if this thing actually ever actually happens one day, that they would have a good enough idea to pull the trigger on it. But I don't know. It's not really news. I think it's just an excuse to talk about what if Community movie. But I don't think that's in the cards, really. All right. And that is it for news this week, gentlemen. Let's move right in to what we've been watching. What we're going to do here, since we've all got multiple things, we're just going to take turns. So, Michael, you go first and tell me what you have been watching or doing or seeing or what have you.
Well, recently watched a Korean film on Netflix called Train to Busan, which was a 2016 South Korean zombie apocalypse action thriller directed by Yun Sang-ho. And it's a movie about a father and his daughter who are on a train, like when a zombie outbreak happens, and it's quite good. It's an action movie, but it's also got drama and comedy and good characters, which I think is key to this sort of movie.
Yeah, I've actually seen this one too. I think I own it actually because I heard such good things about it. This was before it was on Netflix, but I ran out and bought the Blu-ray.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I really enjoy it too. It's like zombie movies are such a played out trope these days that it takes a lot to get my attention. And I think just the setting, the idea of zombie outbreak while on train is such a refreshing and original idea that it captivated me. And of course, the most important thing about any zombie movie is the characters and the connection between the characters. And I think the movie did a really good job of establishing who these people were and making you care about them and why you wanted them to survive. And after each person that you like dies, it's very well done zombie movie.
That grew his characters. I think all the things I've watched this week or that I'm talking about have something in common, which is they're all movies that are confined to like one setting, like spatially confined, which is a movie I really like. The one that comes to mind is Tarantino's Hateful Eight, which I really enjoyed, and Reservoir Dogs, both of which take place in like one room, and it's just about characters interacting.
Yeah.
And this movie isn't quite that confined, but most of it does take place on the train with the same people. And anyway, that's something in common between all these things, and it's just a type of device I like in movies a lot because it really makes it focus more on characters.
Yeah, and the movie really uses the setting to full effect too. It's not just zombies on train. It's what scenarios would that create when you're trapped on a train and the next car over is zombies and the car behind you is zombies and you need to get up to a car past the zombies, and it really uses that setting. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I know nothing of this movie, but what you're describing sounds very compelling.
Yeah, it is on Netflix right now. So anyone out there that hasn't seen Train to Busan, check it out on Netflix. Absolutely. Good decision, Michael. Way to watch.
Thank you. I always make good decisions.
Well,
just say no to Villeneuve.
Why do we have to go back to it? I'm not being dragged into this argument. Matt, why don't you go?
All right. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the Horry Patter fan fiction that my brother is writing. Horry Patter and the Philologer Stone.
Will you tell us the origin of this? Because it's
the origin.
The best thing ever.
I believe the origin of this was someone, I don't even remember who, posted in our Discord, our Daily Planet Discord. They posted a picture of like a Halloween costume that was clearly Hermione Granger's school outfit, but it was just slightly off in such a way where they could call it like Wizard Girl outfit or something, or something even more not copyright infringing while totally infringing on the whole idea of the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could tell the story better because it's pretty good. And then Daniel immediately started riffing on this idea of no, this isn't actually from Harry Potter. This is from the Horry Patter universe. And then he decided that he was going to be inspired to start writing an entire giant, now several thousand word, probably like 15 or 20,000 word now fan fiction about Horry Potter. And
that's excellent. I literally just learned this existed from Daniel yesterday.
I'm a bit behind on it. I've read several of the chapters, but I'm not totally caught up. But yeah, it's hilarious. It's got Daniel's normal wit and writing skill, and the pace of it is really fun. It's a pretty great read. I'm not really one for fan fiction, but I will read anything Daniel writes. So,
but
Daniel's a great writer.
This isn't really fan fiction. This is there's nothing to do with Harry Potter.
It really has nothing to do at all, because it's definitely not related. I mean, it's the Philologer stone.
Yeah. Also the author of Methods of Rationality has apparently read it. So
really?
That's cool. Yeah, he posted a comment review.
That's amazing.
Matt's talking about Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality, which is another fanfic, which is pretty excellent for those who haven't heard of it.
I feel like every time we talk about Harry Potter, I'm told to read that. And
I mean, I feel like you're going to read it eventually.
I mean,
but
it's definitely going to happen.
It's pretty long.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt and I were reading it as it was coming out, which was pretty fun.
Yeah,
but you can definitely go through it all pretty quickly.
The fun part about that was that at a certain point, he puts a final exam to the readers, and he's like, if you guys can't figure out how to solve this problem, then you get the bad ending. And if you collectively can figure it out, then you get the good ending. So
that's really cool. Yeah. Maybe in January, when I have time to just read for fun again, I will just get to read.
Yeah.
And I'll pick that.
Okay.
All right. Now it's my turn, and I want to talk to you guys about Pixar. I want to talk about Coco. Like we talked about at the beginning, this is Pixar's newest film, their last original film in a few years. And it's really good, guys. It's really good. It's directed by Lee Unkirk. It's originally Disney had tried to copyright the phrase "the Day of the Dead" or Dia de los Muertos, at least, because that was the original title of this movie. So they said, "Hey, let's copyright this." And the entirety of Mexico said, "You can't do that." And so they had to change the name of the film. But this is Disney kind of like they did with Moana, kind of diving into another culture, a culture that they have kind of shamelessly exploited in the past, but now actually spending some time exploring the culture and exploring what it is. It centers on this little kid who is part of a family, this long family of shoemakers. At one point, the kid's great grandfather left the family to go pursue a music career and never returned. So the entire family hates music. And of course, the kid loves music, and he's dealing with his family through a magical mishap, ends up in the land of the dead and meets all his old family ancestors and tries to track down that great grandfather of his to get his help to return home. And of course, his blessing to be a musician. So it's this story about, doing what you love, but at the same time being respectful to your history and your family. And it's really good, really good. It's, again, Pixar has laid out all the stops. It's beautiful. Once it gets to the land of the dead, I could not believe what I was seeing. The amount of detail that have the colors, the lights, the world, how they put this thing together is just beautiful. It's such a wonderful film. I think it's going to make you cry. It's so good, guys. It's so good.
Is it cool. Up level cry or
no? Or there's just very touching moments at the end of the film. Not kind of a happy cry, I'd say.
Okay.
Instead of oh my god, sad cry.
Oh my god, she's dead. Yeah, I mean, I want to take my kids.
It's not Up or Toy Story 3 level, though.
No, apparently not. I want to take my kids to see it, but I've heard that it's 2 hours, so that's kind of rough.
Yeah. So the only thing I'll say against it is, for some reason, they have attached a 21-minute short in front of it. There's normally shorts in front of Pixar movies. It's kind of where they started, so they always create new shorts. But this is a Frozen short. It's basically about Olaf, the snowman from Frozen, and his searching for Christmas traditions. And it's 21 minutes long. And I did not care for it. And it's 21 minutes long. So it's like by the time you get through previews in the short, you've been sitting in the theater for 40 minutes and the movie hasn't even started yet. And it's just like, wow. Very interesting decision to toss this thing in front of a movie. I don't like the recycling of intellectual property for the shorts. The shorts were always like an opportunity for artistic expression. Yeah, and I don't even. I mean, it's a Frozen thing, so I don't think Pixar produced the short. I think that's Disney's animation team. So I mean, I know those lines are blurring every year, but still, they have their own teams, and this was not a Pixar thing. Pixar's name is not on the short at all. So it's just kind of like, why is this here? I don't want it. Of course, my niece, that was her favorite part because it's
just Disney infecting the world, Scott.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, it's a very fun movie. It's like you'll laugh, you'll cry. It's kind of predictable. There's a couple twists in the movie that I think most people will see coming. But if you're under 10 years old, I don't think you'll see them coming, that's kind of the target audience for the film. So, not a big deal as far as I'm concerned. The thing that's shocking to me is even if you see the twist coming, the moments still hit, they still land so well. So it's kind of, support over the idea that spoilers aren't as important as everyone makes them out to be. As long as you land that moment and hit that character beat in a way that is impactful and makes sense to the story and the arc of the characters, you will have an emotional reaction to it. And that's exactly what happened with me. So really liked the movie.
Cool.
All right. Back to you, Michael.
I was actually I'm currently in the middle of watching The Tunnel, another South Korean film from 2016, directed by Kim Sung-hun.
Were you just on a Korea bent?
I think it's because I watched Train to Busan, and then this was like recommended to me, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting.
I guess that makes sense.
But it's like a survival drama. Like it starts off right away is this man, and he's driving home for his daughter's birthday, which is very similar to Train to Busan, actually. But he enters a tunnel while he's on the phone, and then the tunnel collapses, and then the movie is about him surviving and talking to this rescue worker guy who's like the other main character, and that's basically the whole movie. I don't know how it ends, but so far it's quite gripping.
Interesting.
So it's like that Sylvester Stallone movie.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, I think it's called
one?
Daybreak. It's from the 90s. Yeah. It's so bad, but I think it's one of the New York tunnels that gets an explosion happens in it and the tunnel collapses and Sylvester Stallone has to go in to save the people trapped in the tunnel.
I gotcha.
Yes.
Really.
So it's just
really
like bad. The drama. There's no gunfights.
There's no gunfights in this.
There was
one,
no gun. Well, was there gunfights? No, I don't know. There was a world famous climber who was arrogantly trying to climb out of the tunnel, even though Sylvester Stallone said, "No, it's unstable.
No, it don't go that way." Yeah.
Sorry,
it always happens.
Sorry, we're occupying your probably great movie with this terrible movie, Michael.
No. Yeah, so far I would say I recommend it.
Cool. That's on Netflix too.
It's on Netflix.
Awesome. I will check that out. I'm adding it to my list as we speak. All
Excellent.
right. Yeah. All right, Matt, it is your turn again. What do you got for us?
So I kind of wanted to talk about I haven't watched many of them at all, actually, but I just kind of got on to these really that good and really that bad YouTube videos from Movie Bob, I believe his name is.
Yep.
And they're pretty entertaining and pretty insightful, actually. Like, I'm kind of midway through the one about The Matrix, and I'm like, I've consumed an awful lot of analysis of The Matrix in my day, but he's bringing some genuinely interesting angles to this that I hadn't really thought about.
Yeah.
And then of course the first thing that I watched was so the Matrix one is a really that good, where he talks about like exactly why the Matrix is as good as we all remember it to be. And then he also does really, really that bad, where he talks about Batman versus Superman, and which is, I'm a connoisseur of watching people tear movies apart. So that's fun. Recommend either one, really, either the really that bad or the really that good. It's actually relatively unusual to find someone praising something successfully. So maybe start with the really that good.
Yeah, and I think this is his first really that bad, and it actually might be his only, because I think he started this series with the point of, I'm going to talk about movies that are appreciated, but maybe we're not putting that appreciation in context. Like, I mean, that's the idea behind the name is, yes, this movie is really that good. Like it's an acclaimed movie, but let's look at it and determine exactly why it is really as good as everyone seems to think it is. And then of course he thought Batman vs Superman was, I think he says, the worst example of blockbuster filmmaking ever. So that's why he decided to do this 3-part. It's going to be 4.5 hours before it's done. Like really deep dive into exactly why this movie doesn't work. And I think the thing that I like about what Bob does is he always manages to put it in context. I think that's what he does really well with the Matrix one is define, you know, yes, this is a good movie and here's all the reasons why, but this was a cultural event because of this reason and because of this reason. And he puts it in that context. He paints a picture of what the world looked like at the time the film came out and then explains why this had such a big impact on people. And that's why they tend to be so long, because he's not just looking at the movie in a vacuum. He's looking at the movie, what it meant culturally, then what it means culturally now, and how everything that it did works to feed into that culture.
Yeah, I like that. I'm also kind of midway through the Spider-Man 1 and 2
I love that one. That's my favorite, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that that one exists, because very often you tell people, well, obviously the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies were some of the best of all of the existing superhero movies, and they don't really know what you're talking about because they don't remember them, frankly.
Yeah,
that was a long time ago.
There's been
and
so many damn Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, but those were genuinely really good movies. Forget superhero; they were just really good movies.
Yeah,
so
I'm sure even Michael will agree with that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen them in a long time, but I did enjoy them when I watched them in the theater.
Yeah. There you go. Michael likes superhero
Shocking.
movies.
Lies.
We did it. But yeah, that's Movie Bob on YouTube. He does like weekly reviews, like he does weekly video reviews as well for geek.com. So it's not on his personal channel. It's on the geek.com YouTube channel. So if you like what he does and you like his opinions on stuff, you can check that out there. They're usually like 5 to 7 minute video reviews. Every week, at least one new one. So he's really good critic. He used to write, and I read all his stuff before, but I think he's just doing this video stuff now. But it's good. It's really good.
Yeah, check it out.
All right, I want to talk about something that I wish you guys had gone and seen, but you didn't. I want to talk about 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri.
I really wanted to, but apparently this movie did not get a wide release.
It will. It has not yet, but it definitely will get a wide release.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure. Especially,
yes, I'm excited to hear about this movie because it's by our collective favorite director of all times.
Yeah, Martin McDonagh, who did In Bruges, which was the movie we did for last month's Kryptonian Collection, which is a film all 3 of us absolutely loved. He's back. This is his 3rd film. 7 Psychopaths was his 2nd. He wrote and directed this movie. It is about a woman in the small town of Ebbing, Missouri, who puts up messages on 3 billboards outside of town that kind of accuse the police, and specifically the chief of police, of not doing enough work to find the person who raped and murdered her daughter the past year. And it's about like grief and sadness and depression and anger and redemption and every other emotion you can think of. It is a hilarious movie. It is a heartbreakingly sad movie. It is surprising. Like, the performances in it are so good. Frances McDormand is going to be nominated for an Oscar, and in my opinion, she should win it. She's really wonderful. She plays this like anger, like she's like rage and anger kind of personified in this woman who's just like, she's just so exhausted by life and the cards she's been dealt. And there's plenty of guilt in there too. She feels kind of responsible. It's just a wonderful, wonderful performance.
So from your description, it sounds like maybe it captures successfully the same sort of tone of In Bruges, where it's got this kind of depressing tone, but is made really light by all the dark jokes that it's always making that are actually genuinely funny.
I think it's probably a little less funny than In Bruges was. There are definitely funny moments. Like, there are moments when I laughed out loud. There are really hilarious moments. But I don't think it's quite on the same level as In Bruges. I still think In Bruges is a better movie. But this is such a 2017 movie. Like, I can't tell you how perfect it was for this movie to come out this year amidst all this sexual assault scandal, amidst all the political frustration that many people are feeling, and the hopelessness and the division amongst everyone in our country. This movie comes out and it just seems to represent all that in one package. And
interesting.
It's really beautiful. Sam Rockwell is like, as good as I love Frances McDormand in this movie, and as good as Woody Harrelson is, and Woody Harrelson is very good, Sam Rockwell is like the secret weapon of this film. He just kind of comes out of nowhere. Like I've always liked Sam Rockwell. I think he's a great actor. I've enjoyed most of the things he's been in. He's never played a role like this. And the way he captures this character, both on the very positive and the very negative sides of this character, is a sight to see. And I think he's going to get nominated too. And I really hope he wins for a supporting role, because he is magnificent. Absolutely magnificent.
Awesome. Yeah. I hope the movie comes out in Durango soon.
It should. I hope so too, because it's worth seeing. Absolutely. And that's 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. Go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Oh, no. I was just going to say I regret not seeing it when I had the chance.
Yeah, I will say I wish I hadn't watched the trailer as many times as I did, because the trailer played for months and months, and I feel like I've seen it like 50 times. Enough times that I knew every single scene in the trailer and was like mentally ticking them off in my head, even though I didn't want to.
Yeah, that can be distracting.
Yeah. But still, I mean, it's a great movie. I can't wait to see it again. It's a very deep movie, and I think you guys are really going to like it. I really do.
Okay.
All right, Michael, back to you.
The movie I saw in the theaters this week was Murder on the Orient Express, which is a movie about a book that you might not have heard of by a not so well known author known Agatha Christie.
I don't know who.
And
never.
It's a murder mystery on a train.
What's with you in trains and tunnels?
Yeah.
In this
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was noticing that as well. I do enjoy trains, and I can't remember a movie that takes place on a train that I didn't enjoy.
Yeah, and they're all like, they were South Korean, and this is in the Orient, which is not Korea, but close.
Oh, we have to do, Scott.
Turkey.
Superhero train movie.
There we go. We need a superhero train movie.
Wow, that actually sounds really awesome.
So, Michael, I think we talked about this movie before you had seen it. I don't know what we've been watching back a couple weeks ago.
Right.
And I was very interested to see how you thought of it, because I thought you would be kind of mixed on it. And so what you think?
Yeah, I think I was pretty mixed on it. I think when it started off, I was a little bit annoyed at how they were characterizing Poirot as being like cartoonishly eccentric, but then I quickly got really interested in it and really enjoyed the characters. Basically, when the train appeared, because of my love of trains, I immediately started enjoying the movie, and I enjoyed all the characters that you were meeting and learning more about the characters, and then the murder happens, and you're enjoying like interviewing all the characters, but I was ultimately annoyed by the ending, which I was at first suspicious that they changed the ending from the book, because I couldn't remember the book because I read it like as a child. Mm-hmm. But it actually was the ending of the book, but it just didn't work in this movie. Like all of the clues they gave you, which are like the kind of the fun part of a mystery movie, is like, even if you don't figure it out, is like seeing how they all come together at the end. And like literally all of the clues didn't matter. Yeah. And there was nothing enjoyable about the ending.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's what I said to you back when we talked about it first time, that the actual mystery part of this murder mystery film kind of took a back seat to the exploration of Poirot as a character, which is interesting because he was always a device in Agatha Christie books. He was this fussy detective that was really good at his job. But he usually did not have an arc in these books. He's just there to make the book go, to advance the plot forward. And they decided here to give him an arc, and this is his movie more than it is a movie about the passengers on this train, which I think is why maybe the reveal at the end doesn't work as well.
Right. Yeah. Which is too bad. I mean, I appreciate that they gave him a character, but I don't. I think more than just that needed to come together, because clearly the focal point of the movie was this murder.
Right. It's in the title.
Yeah. So maybe this wasn't the best Agatha Christie book to start with. Maybe it would have been better to choose one that had more of a mystery you could figure out with a conclusive end to it. But I'll probably go watch the Murder on the Nile.
Yeah, Death on the Nile, which is officially happening. They've greenlit it. They hinted it at the end of this movie, but it is officially happening. Here's my after thinking about this movie since I saw it. Here's my final opinion on it. We have hundreds of big, sort of dumb comic book movies for teenagers every year that come out, and they're not the best written. They're not the sharpest movie, but they're fun. And they're basically harmless. And this feels like kind of a big, sort of dumb, harmless movie for adults. And I think that's okay.
Yeah. I guess so. I don't know about like specifically for adults, because the superhero movies are clearly juvenile, but they're targeted at everyone.
Well, yeah, but I mean, this is not like
it's kind of trying to target mainstream.
Yeah.
But the Agatha Christie books were already pretty, mainstream.
Yeah, I mean they were pulp entertainment novels. They were not like fine literature.
There's not a lot of mystery movies. That's not really a genre that exists in this current age. And it would have been cool to bring that back, like for the mystery elements of it, not just for the character elements. So hopefully with the Death on the Nile, that'll be there, and maybe it'll spur more mystery movies, and that could distract people from the superhero trash that's coming out.
I hope so. I like this genre, and we're reading a mystery novel right now for the book club. So we're reading Tana French's The Secret Place. So
yeah, that's all I need is movies based on those books.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to happen. They're very popular. I'm surprised there hasn't been one made already, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm, yeah, there's those Bone Collector. I mean, the first book is the Bone Collector, but there's a whole bunch of those.
Yeah, and then
those are good.
And then they made Gone Girl's kind of, that's not really a mystery, I guess. I don't know. Gone Girl, and then there's these books that are set up as kind of mysteries because they have late book reveals, but they're not really like mystery in the classic sense of this is a detective trying to solve a crime.
Yeah, it's more of a drama with a twist.
Right. All right, that's Murder on the Orient Express. I think it's still playing in theaters. Thanks, Michael.
You know what another mystery movie is The Girl on the Train.
Yeah, was that a mystery though?
The Train.
Yeah, did you see that one?
Train.
I didn't see that one, but I'm intrigued for some reason.
Did you ever see Snowpiercer, Michael?
I did. That's another great movie. Wow.
It's a South Korean train movie that you really liked.
You can just throw trains into any movie and it just makes them better.
There you go.
Spider-Man 2 had a train scene.
It did. It had a subway scene.
Yeah.
I forgot about Snowpiercer. That movie's great.
All right, Matt, your turn.
I'm going to search as soon as I learn how to throw cards after this podcast is over. I'm going to search South Korean train movies on Netflix.
You were going to have a very busy Sunday evening.
Yeah.
Yes.
The train genre.
Yes.
I'm not sure what I want to talk about next because
that I would have just mentioned. I learned of a new movie genre since you said that recently. There's a whole genre called kids on bikes.
Is that
which is the genre that includes Stranger Things and It and E.T., where it's just like a group of kind of just on the edge of puberty boys who ride around on bikes, and that's a genre.
That can't be a real genre.
It's a genre.
That's just people obsessed with categorizing things, putting things in categories.
But it totally made sense in my head as a genre when I heard about it.
I mean, it's absolutely copied like all the time.
Goonies.
It's Super 8, yeah, Goonies.
Yeah.
It's kids on bikes, man.
Kids on bikes.
Damned if the kids aren't watching these kids on bikes movies.
Kids on bikes with superheroes.
It's because like all the filmmakers of today grew up watching E.T. and grew up watching Goonies and now are making their own movies and they're like, I want to put kids on bikes.
Yeah, like at first I thought it was kind of cool when these movies like evoked 80s-ness with their like color filters and stuff and having like landlines on the walls and scenes. But now I'm kind of seeing through it.
On the wall.
And I'm kind of annoyed now that everyone is so nostalgic for the 80s, which were an objectively terrible decade.
Were they?
Whoa.
I don't remember them being terrible. I remember the Ninja Turtles and Nintendo.
Ghostbusters.
Those were all good things.
Yeah. I will say that 80s nostalgia is reaching its peak, and it's about to blow the lid off that peak as soon as Ready Player One comes out next year.
I was going to mention Ready Player One. Yeah, that is a book that is completely about 80s nostalgia.
It's so
and
bad.
soon it'll be a movie.
Yeah. Maybe that'll be the end of it.
I actually found the book enjoyable.
I don't know. How could you hate Villeneuve and like Ready Player One? I don't know what to do with you.
I mean, Ready Player One was exactly what it was supposed to be.
Bad.
Whereas Villeneuve is just, utterly pointless.
Oh my God. I'm going to die. I'm going to die.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the mystery aspect of Ready Player One, but I felt like it completely fell on its face dramatically at every possible turn. So that was kind of where I was.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not on our list, though.
No.
Yeah, what is on our list?
Talk about your movie, Matt. What movie did you decide to go see for some reason?
I did go and see Justice League. I don't know if we need to talk about it, though. Yeah, I mean, I listened to the podcast where you and Daniel discussed it, and then I went and saw it because the theater is like 100 yards from where my hotel room is. So I had an opportunity, and I had said, Scott, should I go see this movie? And you said, no, go see 3 Billboards. And then I saw Justice League. I don't really have anything to add to your discussion. I don't even know if I want to talk about this. Actually, it was, I think, I mean, it was kind of interesting to think about how this movie was not as bad as Justice League, or if you're Daniel, much worse than Justice League.
Do you mean Batman vs Superman?
Batman.
You can't even.
Sorry, Batman vs Superman. Yeah, sorry, that sentence probably came out really unintelligibly. But the point is, it's interesting how it seems like it's actually pretty easy to make an okay movie. You just keep the stupid stuff out of it, because Batman vs Superman, I think, was almost an okay movie, but it had stuff in there that made you just kind of like, what are you doing? Whereas this movie had all of that kind of stuff surgically cut out of it, and then just a few little scenes of characterization sprinkled in through it in a very artificial way that was just enough for you to be like, okay, yeah, whatever, fine. and then you accept it as a coherent narrative.
Yeah.
And you walk out of it and you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. That I'm not offended.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Yeah. The thing I will say about this movie, a week removed from it, is I don't remember it at all. It's gone. It's gone. It's out of my head. There were some scenes that I liked, I think. A couple of them that are spoilers, so I won't say. I remember those scenes, but the rest of the movie, I don't know. Gone.
Yeah. Right.
So maybe that's the best part, is that this movie didn't drive me to a rage in which I can remember every moment of it because I hate it so much. Yeah. And that was Batman vs Superman.
I think its forgettability works to its advantage because the visuals are so bland generally that they don't stick in your head, and thus you can't remember to be angry about them. Yeah. Whereas, say what you want about Batman vs Superman, but Snyder's visuals are always pretty striking one way or another. Even if you think they're ugly, they're striking.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I
don't know.
All right. Well, great decision, Matt. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone.
All right. I also saw this week another movie I told you to see instead of Justice League. I saw Lady Bird. This is the film written and directed by Greta Gerwig. This is her directorial debut, although she's written and acted in quite a few movies. She was in Frances Ha, which I absolutely loved. I believe she wrote that as well. Mistress America, another Noah Baumbach movie, just like Frances Ha. She wrote that as well. And she wrote and directed this one. And this is one of my favorite movies of the year, guys. I really loved this movie. It tells a story of a 17-year-old girl about to graduate from high school. And it's one of those kind of teen coming-of-age movies, but it captures the realism of being a teenager in probably one of the most believable ways I've ever experienced. It helps that Greta Gerwig set this in 2003 when she was a senior in high school, which also happens to be when we were. So I identify with it on a much more personal level because I remember being alive during this time and going through obviously not the same things. She's a woman. I am a man, but there's a relatability to it. There's this frustration with your parents. She has this really complicated relationship with her mother, who is very overbearing and controlling. She's desperate to get to college. She's desperate to leave the town she is in, and it's just a beautiful little movie. It's really funny. It's really heartfelt. I loved it to death. Saoirse Ronan plays the main character, who is like, it's weird because Greta Gerwig wrote this movie and directed it, and you can see Saoirse Ronan like channeling Greta Gerwig in some of it. Like, she talks like her and she acts like her at times, and it's like almost scary at times how much she's channeling the character she's kind of portraying, and it's such a good film. I can't say enough about it, how good it is.
I like Saoirse Ronan. She's like late 20s or something now, though, right? You're playing a 17-year-old.
Yeah,
she looks pretty young.
That's
normal. That's
Hollywood.
What people do.
Yeah. And she hides her Irish accent pretty good in this movie. You don't really get a hint of that at all.
Yeah, I watched the
Sounds
trailer.
interesting.
It sounds interesting. It's sort of, I'm like, wow, this is very much not being marketed to me, but I should I should get past that, definitely.
Yeah, I think if you have liked any of Greta Gerwig's other movies, if you've liked Frances Ha, which if you have not seen Frances Ha, I think you should see that movie. I think it's phenomenal. And Mistress America is another movie that really slipped under the radar, just like this is probably going to as well. But they're all these really, really well done indie movies that have a lot of heart to them. I love the way Gerwig writes. I love the way she writes characters. There's really no like simple characters in this film. Everyone's complex. Even her mother serves as the antagonist in this movie, but she's this incredibly rich and complex character. She's played by, I'm blanking on the name right now. Laurie Metcalf, of course. She's played by Laurie Metcalf in probably the role of her career, I think. She's really phenomenal. And see this movie, please. See this movie.
I'm intrigued, but tell me one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do they travel on trains?
Well,
just say yes.
There's a subway, so yes.
I'll take it.
So that's Lady Bird. It's out in limited release right now. It's expanding, so it has moved. Obviously, I got to see it, so it's moved past just the LA and New York scene. But I think it's slowly going to roll out. So if you have an art house theater near you, it's probably going to hit there. I don't know if this is ever going to go wide. Probably not. So you might be just shit out of luck, Michael. Sorry.
Yep, I'm like 3.5 hours from the nearest semi-city.
All right, Michael, did you have any more, or should we just go right on to Matt?
Well, I did watch another movie that you may have seen, starring Gary Cooper. It's an old Western movie.
Okay.
Where he is a Quaker.
What is the name of the movie?
Friendly Persuasion, 1956. Directed by William Wyler, who never heard of.
You've never what?
Have you heard of him?
William Wyler?
William Wyler, what'd he do?
A bunch of stuff.
Oh, Ben-Hur.
Yeah.
Okay. I've heard of that.
Roman Holiday. Funny Girl.
Oh, so quite a few things.
Just,
anyway, I saw one of his movies.
One of the biggest directors of all time.
On Purpose, obviously, I knew all that. But it was pretty. It didn't hold up. It didn't hold up. But it was about Gary Cooper is usually he's usually like a tough man, shoot 'em up cowboy kind of guy in his westerns.
Yeah.
And in this movie, he's a Quaker and he's committed to nonviolence, and that's about as interesting as it sounds.
Okay, I've never seen Friendly Persuasion, so I can't argue against you.
I guess
hadn't quite figured out the formula.
Haven't quite. I mean, it didn't. It wasn't really very David Villeneuve-esque. So I can't say whether you'd like it or not.
I will say this movie was nominated for 6 Academy Awards.
I mean, it was a slow year. So.
How do you know that? How could you possibly know that?
They didn't really know how to make movies yet back then.
They didn't figure it out. They hadn't had Push hadn't come out yet.
Well, I'm writing this movie down so I can see it and then tell you how wrong you are. So I'm sure it's great. All right, Matt, how about you?
I kind of wanted to talk about Ward in the vaguest possible terms, I guess.
What's that? I don't know what that is.
One of the things that I've been. So I'm sure everyone who's listening to this knows that it's the sequel to Worm, which we're doing a podcast about. It's really good. I'm not going to say anything else. Can't say anything else.
Wait, has it come out?
It's very much started. Yeah.
Nice. I'm going to start reading it.
Oh, good. Yeah, he spent a few weeks doing like teasers, which are that doesn't really mean anything. They're sort of leading up to the story,
prologue,
and then
right?
Prologue, yeah, and then he started the real story. There's like 5 chapters now. So.
Oh, nice. I don't really follow the happenings of the internet, so this passed me by.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna have to.
You're just totally off the grid.
If I type this into Google, will I find it?
I mean, probably.
If you type in, it's actually just at parahumans.net rather than parahumans.wordpress.com. But you can probably just Google Ward and you'll probably find it.
I'll do it. Cool. This is exciting.
All right. Yeah. I saw a Netflix TV show, a Western, Michael, since you love those so much, called Godless. This is it's not technically a show. They're calling it a limited series, which I think just means there's not going to be another season. It's 7 episodes long. It's about 8 hours. It's really, really good. They kind of build this as a kind of, I don't want to say feminist Western, but like the concept is there's this town called LaBelle. It's a mining town, and every single man in this town was killed after the mine collapsed while they were all working in it. So like it's a town just of women trying to survive, and they kind of build it as this like, look at these strong, powerful women. And there are a lot of like really amazing women in this show, but the core of the story deals with 2 outlaws fighting against each other. One played by Jeff Daniels in a great performance. Another played by Jack O'Connell, who's playing a character called Roy Good, who is kind of like adopted by Jeff Daniels' character as his surrogate son. And then he had a breaking off with him, and now they both want to kill each other. And it all like it comes to a head around this town of LaBelle. But it's fantastically well done. It's directed and written by Scott Frank, who's a guy who's written a lot of things. He wrote Logan, which was pretty good.
Which is all right.
Yeah. He wrote A Walk Among the Tombstones. He's been writing for a very long time, and he's directed a few things as well. But this is his, like, I think he directed every single episode of this thing.
That sounds pretty interesting. Despite the sarcasm and the "you love westerns," right, Michael? I do like the idea of westerns.
Yeah.
And I have seen like Treasure of Sierra Madre is a really great movie. Mm-hmm. Don't know if you've seen that one, but but I'm intrigued. I'll check this one out.
And this very much like, I think I listened to an interview with Scott Frank, and he said when he sat down to write this thing, one of the first things he did was just like read a shit ton of Western novels and watch a shit ton of Western books or movies, and you can tell like there's subtle homages to different like the most iconic scene from The Searchers. He put a little scene in here that looks very much like that. It's very well written. He's very much a writer's writer, so he's really interested in character, and these characters go on real distinct arcs, and it's really good. It's really, really good. Scoot McNairy's in it. He's really good. He plays a sheriff that unfortunately we don't get to see enough of, but I guess the only disappointment I have is that it was really sold as this like kind of inversion on the classic Western with these women really taking forefront. And that's not quite what it is, which is a little disappointing.
Well, I suspect that was more how the marketing people chose to market it rather than whatever his vision was.
But there are still some kick-ass women in this thing. Michelle Dockery plays a really badass woman. Merritt Weaver is the most badass person. She, if you watch The Walking Dead, she played a character on The Walking Dead who died. But I liked her on that show, even though I don't like that show anymore. But she's great here.
All right. Learn how to throw cards, search Korean train movies, watch Godless.
And Michael, there's a train robbery in this movie.
Yes.
Oh man.
All right. Anything else, Michael?
No.
How about you, Matt?
No.
I just kind of wanted to briefly mention, like, it's always funny to me how Avatar sort of like came and everyone was like, this is amazing, and then never talked about it again.
Yep.
And I mean, there's reasons for that, I think, but it was interesting to me because, living in a hotel for a while, not a lot to do. So it was on TV and it was kind of in the middle part of the movie when I tuned into it. So it was basically the part where the main character is getting his training in how to be a Na'vi. And it was really interesting because my little kids like immediately and intuitively understood everything the visual language of the movie was conveying. And I thought that was very cool because like it's very easy to say like, oh yes, James Cameron is really good at making stories very simple and communicating things in a subconscious visual way. But it's especially cool when like you don't even have to explain to them that, oh yeah, they touch their hair thing to the animal's hair thing and then they're connected and then they can control it with their mind. Like the kids just got that. I didn't have to explain that. And it was fun overall, and like nothing violent happens in the middle part of the movie, so it was all just kind of fun, and they clearly enjoyed it and enjoyed seeing the visuals, and it was cool even for them, even though they're sort of growing up in this world where everything is amazing. So yeah, I thought that was a cool little moment of film art.
Yeah, no, Avatar was a great experience. Because it was the first movie that actually used 3D, and perhaps the only movie that's ever actually used 3D.
I think the only other one I can think of offhand is Gravity. That used 3D well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that was another good one. But I mean, yeah, no one. It was so. I think the popularity of that is dying down, but they were just tossing it into every movie where it didn't belong at all, and it was just more annoying than adding anything. But yeah, that was the first movie that was really awesome in how they used it.
Yeah. James Cameron is a brilliant man, and I don't know why he's decided to spend the rest of his life making Avatar films, but I guess I'm going to probably go see him.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, if he's obsessed with it, then I guess they'll probably be good.
It's interesting because so in stark contrast to George Lucas, who wanted everything to be in a computer so he could make it all CG, James Cameron takes absolute painterly advantage of having it all be in his computer, because it is a mix of live action and CG elements, but a lot of the movie is just CG, and it is quite beautiful, really. Like just it's been so long since I saw it. I think before I wasn't really watching it with the eye of someone looking for the beauty of the composition of things, but it's just stunning. You can almost take, it's one of these movies where you can just take still frames out of it and appreciate the composition and the balance of things and how your eye is drawn to where it's supposed to be drawn to. Which I think is one of the things they did on purpose with this movie, is play with where your gaze was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you can show your kids Avatar 2, 3, 4, and 5, I think.
All right. Yeah.
I don't know when the first one comes out. I think it's 2019, but probably later than that, if they happen.
I'll buy tickets.
All right. Okay. I only have 2 more things. I think both of you guys are done now, right? So I can just knock through my last 2 things.
Yeah, just go for it.
Okay. I watched another Netflix original. This is a movie called Mudbound. This is a movie that takes place post World War II when a white soldier and a black soldier come back to a rural Mississippi town and deal with the world after the war and how racist and terrible it is. This movie was directed by Dee Rees, who I've never heard of before. I looked at IMDb and they hadn't really done much of anything aside from some shorts before this. So they also co-wrote the screenplay. But Garrett Hedlund is in this movie, Carey Mulligan, Jason Clarke. The guy who played, what is his name? Jason Mitchell, who played Eazy-E on Straight Outta Compton. He was great in that movie. He plays the black soldier coming back from World War II in this. It's this very kind of quiet film that just explores life in rural Mississippi in the 40s post-war and how just shit people were, and kind of what that does to soldiers that coming back. You know, I think Jason Mitchell's character has moments where he talks about how they were like loved and respected and greeted as liberators in Europe. Even the black soldiers who were treated like shit everywhere else, like in Europe, they treated them just like all the other white soldiers and they loved them. And then he comes back to here where he fought for his country and his country just hates him. So it's a very well written, quiet, slow type of movie, but I enjoyed it very much. Some really good performances.
Cool. Put that on my list.
Yeah. Also, it's on Netflix right now, so you can watch a lot of these things. The last thing I have to talk about is I rewatched Cabin in the Woods, which was Drew Goddard and Joss Whedon's send-up of horror films that came out. I think it was 2000. Was it 2012? Is it that long ago? Wow. I think it was.
Yeah, that feels right.
Yeah. I watched this, so my wife and I got tired of like having conversations with my wife and like comparing something we're watching to another movie, and it's like, it's just like this. And she said, oh, I haven't seen it. So I got tired of that happening. So we basically went to my Blu-ray collection and we just wrote down every movie that I have that she hasn't seen. And I called it Elyse's List. And now we're like slowly working our way through Elyse's List. So it'll be like, okay, tonight's Elyse's List movie. And this is the one she picked. It was Cabin in the Woods. It's actually the first one she picked. So I think she was kind of scared of this movie because she doesn't like horror, but it's not really a horror film. And I forgot how good this movie was. It's been a while since I've seen it, and it's really fun. It's really funny. I love what it does to the horror tropes. And I had actually just watched a scathing review of CinemaSins thing that did this, and someone like said everything wrong with CinemaSins and did this scathing write-up of how CinemaSins sucks and is terrible, which I completely agree with. And so watching the movie after seeing that made me appreciate it even more.
Yeah.
I started Cabin in the Woods like 4 years ago, but then I stopped watching it.
Why?
I don't remember. It just was boring.
No trains. It's not boring at all. Oh my God.
Yeah, I think probably it was one of those situations where like I wasn't actually in the mood to watch a movie.
That happens.
But I might give it another shot if you're recommending it.
I do recommend.
Although I don't like Joss Whedon is associated with all of the movies I hate now.
I don't understand that at all. He's a very talented writer.
Well, I mean, Justice League.
Well, okay. You can't blame that movie entirely on him.
I think you can blame a big part of it.
How much can you dress up poop? At the end of the day, it's still poop.
Yeah,
and I think the best scenes in that movie were Joss Whedon scenes, but that's just me.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll put it on Michael's list. I like your Elyse's List idea. It sounds like a thing to do.
It is fun. I think it gets me to revisit a lot of movies. It's an excuse to revisit a lot of movies at the same time. having her take on these films.
It's fun to be the one to show people movies that are really good.
Yeah,
I agree.
All right, so that is it for me, and I think that's it for all of us. That was our Thanksgiving, what we've been watching. So that's all we had for you guys this week. If you have any questions, comments, or anything about any of the movies we talked, or need any more information on anything we talked about, you can reach out to us via email. It's dailyplanetfilms@gmail.com, or on Twitter @dailyplanetfilms.
Yeah, and if you're not already subscribed to this podcast, we encourage you to subscribe and ensure you never miss an episode. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere else podcasts can be found.
Yeah, that's right. And if you like this show and all the other shows that we do here at the Daily Planet, including We've Got Worm, So-Called Writers, Phantom Zone, future shows that are coming within the next few months, if you like these things and want to see more of them, you can pledge $1 a month or whatever else you can afford on our Patreon account. There's tons of Patreon exclusives that you can get, including that Discord that we mentioned earlier in the chat, as well as early access to scripts and getting to voting on our book club and so many other cool things. So you can check all the details on that out at patreon.com/dailyplanetfilms.
Yeah. Also, please consider rating and reviewing us on iTunes. Every review helps us get more exposure and introduces new people to how awesome we are.
Yeah. And that's all we have for you guys this week. Next week on the podcast, I don't know. I don't think we've decided what we're going to do yet. But it'll be something fun. We've got to kind of plot out December. End of the year is always so crazy with awards and end of the year lists and all that stuff. But we're going to plot all that out and have something fun for you next Monday. So tune in and we'll see you next week.
Podcast.